He's on an incredible run. Thanks for joining me here. This is Dave Toll with Velo News TV as we take a look at the start line for our men's race. The Elite Men, round 4 of the Crank Brothers U.S. Grand Prix of Cyclocross. They fire the gun, and they are underway. This field hits out. Launched in orbit. You can see it looks like right in the middle there in the red. That's Chris Horner having a little bit of trouble finding the right gear. And it is exceptional what they do at the front in the first 5 minutes. Like you can see, the white skin suit. That's our leader of the series. He's won all 3 races, and that is tragic to see. Danish national champion Joachim Podvol breaking his chain, having to run the 1.5K to the pit, as these guys are not going to be looking back, and that'll be game over for the Danish national champion. It was great having him in attendance for the 2 days of racing here on the Front Range of Colorado. Ben Jacquemains has been starting very, very well, and he's once again back at it. You can see the usual suspects slotting in behind him. How about the Arrow helmet there on the head of Will Frischkorn of the TIAA Cliff Bar team? They had an amazing display in the venue. We'll talk about that a little bit later because it looks like the race is on as Ryan Trebon goes to the whip, and he is wasting no time once again. This is his modus operandi, wasting absolutely not a moment and seeing what's going to happen as he hits it. The damage behind him is already becoming evident. This is once again playing out the same way. Trebon has won the first 3 rounds of the U.S. Grand Prix of Cyclocross. This is the 4th round here in Boulder. The first time through the volleyball pit. Todd Wells stays on the bike, so he's covered that early move from Ryan and back through the group. Now everyone's starting to find a little bit of a rhythm. We're 5 minutes into the race. That's Troy Kilgore of the Boulder Cyclesport team right in front of Chris Horner. There's always a melee going on around Horner as he seems to draw the best in his competitors. You can see the group staying relatively consistent. Corey Carlson of the Rocky Mounts Izzy team right in the middle. For some of these riders, it's just a tremendous opportunity to get to race with the very best in the country. I see the Stars and Stripes jersey. It's really no longer Stars and Stripes, but the red, blue, and black of the United States team. That's Chris Stockberger, one of the up-and-coming talents on the American scene, not just cyclocross, but on the road. He's phenomenal. It's really interesting to see with 85 starters how resilient this group is, no one wanting to let that gap open up in front of them. And as they make their way under the Cliff Bar inflatable, this is really where the crowd started to pack in throughout the 1 hour of racing. Well, Todd Wells takes his turn on the front. These guys are going to go back and forth, it looks like, because we see is just a couple minutes later, that is going to be Ryan Trebon on the front. Barry Wicks, his teammate, did an outstanding job in covering for yesterday's winner. I'm just taking a look there and seeing that looking very good. The placing right now for Chris Horner seems to be up inside the top 20. And that really is a good ride for this man, holding on to some fitness after a very, very long road season. Chris Horner racing in the Tour de France, and now here he is at the Grand Prix of Cyclocross. Well, the white was going to be on the front, we thought, all day, as once again Wells able to go with the strong man racing out of Ventura, California for Kona right now, as the gaps are opening up. They are obviously, oh, and boy, it looks like Jeremy Powers, able to bunny hop there. That is the skill he picked up in Belgium, or actually a skill he's been working on for quite a few years, but having that Belgian experience really paying off for Jeremy Powers this weekend as the Jelly Belly rider representing for his sponsor incredibly well. It's good to see that young man starting to shine here in North America. And the chase group includes Jonathan Baker, so local favorite for the Harshman Wealth Management Primus Mutri team, which really has become the strong local team here in Colorado. They're going up against the best in North America, but John Baker leading up the charge right now, and back through this group, riders trying to hold onto the wheel as it's detonated, partly because of the work that man has done. Todd Wells, we're picking him up looking very clean there. Oh, now Tim Johnson starting to emerge. So Tim Johnson racing for cyclocrossworld.com in Cannondale. Cannondale, his sponsor on the road. Tim going to be a captain for the HealthNet Maxis team next year as they're giving him more responsibility. He looks like he's trying to latch onto that wheel of Wells. It really does give you a focal point to have a rider in front of you to try to hold on to. Wells absolutely flying. This could be his best lap through this section. As you can see, Tim Johnson using that same line, and then you never know what's going to happen in the sand. Riders getting sideways. And it's interesting to see what's going on. Ryan Trebon, who is leading the race early who was really animating and dictating. Wells was the only rider who was responding. Well, now Tim Johnson and Todd Wells coming together at the front, as Ryan Trebon seems to be having a little bit of trouble mid-race here. So we're going to have to check in to see. Jeff Kabush just married a month ago back in Victoria, Canada, and now he's back at it trying to get some form. The winner right now for Jeff Kabush already starting his training for next year's mountain bike campaign. Obviously some fun being had by riders as well. The TIAA Cliff Bar team had quite a few riders in the race. They'd been working in the venue as Cliff Bar was selling cool tags, and that was trying to offset the carbon footprint of the event. They also had a zero waste zone, and Stu Gillespie and Brian Smith, two pro riders on the road, they ran that, and they did a great job of making sure that we didn't have any impact at all. And a $1,000 check was presented to the South Boulder Rec Center so they could take care of the course after we left and leave it in better condition than we found it. So certainly part of the sustainability effort from Cliff Bar was on display, and the fun being shown by, that was Will Frischkorn we saw earlier. But back to the front now, and it looks like he's gotten his B-bike and made the chase. So an incredible amount of power on display as Ryan Trebon bouncing back from what looked like a little bit of a mechanical problem. Oh boy, riders are digging deep, and that looked to be Jamie Driscoll having another good ride. He's one of our U23 riders. We'll be taking a look at that category a little bit later as well, as our national champion Troy Wells has advanced into the elite group. We're starting to see a whole new group of U23 start to shine. Jesse Anthony is another rider who comes to mind, racing for the Cliff Bar team. He was here without his teammate Mark McCormick, who was attending to family business. But back at the front, it looks like we've got another problem here, or at least trying to get back his A bike. Now it looks like the bike that originally had the problem, riders generally like to get that bike back if the problem can be sorted out. So as Barry Wicks, his teammate, starting to close down on the front of the race. Actually, over the last 2 laps, he's taken back 10 seconds. So they are having Wicks knocking on the back door right now as he's reintegrated our lead group. We're starting to see some traffic here as well. That looked to be Todd Wells there. Good to see the Stars and Stripes jersey being represented so well by the rider out of Durango, Colorado. But Wicks was definitely coming. Wicks had a crash yesterday in Longmont. It looks like with his number ripped, he must have gone down again today. We have riders crashing all over the course. That's just part of cyclocross, bouncing back. And a great ride by Jonathan Baker, as he's got, it seems like every time that Ryan Trebon has some trouble, he bounces back incredibly quickly. You find him back up in that lead group, and there he goes again. Trebon, for a big rider, is just so graceful out on course. We've watched that with his back-to-back-to-back wins over the first 3. Todd Wells hits it up the climb, and you can see Wells really has been picking a good line lap after lap. As far as a tactician, it doesn't get better than Todd Wells. Todd Wells, another American who's represented us at the Olympic Games. Todd going with Jeremy Horgan-Kabelski to represent the United States in Athens. Well, what's going on now? This has been a crazy 40 minutes of racing leading up to this point, and you can see riders hitting the deck here because trying to get out of the way of that freight train. As a big look over the shoulder for the finish. Everything came together incredibly quickly at the end. Ryan Trebon never able to rejoin the lead group because that man right there stayed on the gas. Kona wins it anyways with Barry Wicks. It was Tim Johnson with his great performance here in Boulder. Johnson in second, and Wells holds on to the final podium spot in third. There's Richard Fries. Richard did such a great job. He's at each stop here of the Crank Brothers U.S. Grand Prix of Cyclocross, the Adidas most aggressive rider. However, going to Barry Wicks, our winner's teammate, Ryan Trebon, as he almost rejoined the group on the last lap. Tim Johnson stepping up onto the top step along with Todd Wells. So rounding it out, that is Wicks, Johnson, and Wells, your top three on an incredible day of racing in Boulder. Congratulations.